This is Shelley Kraft coming to you live on SNN Live. We're at the Growth Capital Expo at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas 2016. This is a Wall Street view with Margaret Rosenfeld of Smith Anderson, a law firm, and she's a partner. Margaret, welcome to SNN Live.
Well, thank you, Shelley, and thank you so much for encouraging me to come to this conference. It was my first time, and really, just the best part of it is all of these innovative companies that are out there and growing and seeing the path that they're on.
Well, I think that it's a culmination of a year's worth of work to put together a conference, and we seek out some of the most interesting undiscovered companies we can find in the MicroCap market. Now, the fact that you're a lawyer, what do you actually do in the business, and what draws you to a MicroCap conference?
Well, I lead the MicroCap practice at Smith Anderson, which is in the Research Triangle Park in North Carolina. And we are really fortunate to be there because we are in a region where we can have really a cost-effective approach to working with public companies. It's not at the New York rate structure, and we can work with people all over the world. I practice law in London, Tokyo, and Frankfurt. I work with a lot of foreign companies coming into the U.S. and accessing the capital markets. But the most fun really is working with the smaller companies who need that capital infusion to get to the next growth stage. Maybe they're thinking about, I've got to build that factory, or we've spent a lot of time on technology, and now's the time where I really need a chief marketing officer and a sales force. Helping them get that capital, but also helping them think about how they're going to do that growth in a way that is avoiding the risks they should be avoiding, but also moving quickly to capture the market that they are going after.
You so kindly supported our panels, spoke to our audience. Tell us some of the things that you spoke about, what topics you covered.
Well, the conference had this wonderful boot camp, a half day focused on Regulation A+. I don't think there's been anywhere yet where you had 6 hours of discussion about that. Regulation A+ mini IPOs are new. It's a new regulation. It's a new way for entrepreneurs to access the public market. And it's being done in a way that's really innovative. You're going out to the moms and pops of the world, and the retail investors, and saying to them, here's your opportunity to invest in a public company. But in addition, you're also going after the institutional investor. It has to be a combination of both. And the technology involved, the web portals, it's really at the edge of where the millennials are focused. And the millennials are going to be our largest market. They're at that baby boomer stage. They can afford to do these investments, and they're looking for companies that they have an affinity for. And the companies that are doing this, they are realizing that, the companies that are successful at this.
So Margaret, you have this audience, and in the audience could be the CEO of a private company thinking about going public, thinking about doing a Reg A+ deal, a reverse merger, getting listed, funding with an S1. What came up during this conference for you that gave you insight into what the audience really needed to know about various different components going public, either using what I just described or Reg A+?
I think I was surprised at the confusion and lack of information, particularly around Regulation A+. It's new, and people are quick to answer, but you need to also be thinking about it in a larger context for these companies. Things are moving fast. We're at this conference, and the Securities and Exchange Commission hands down new rulemaking, live while we're sitting here on under the Jobs Act. You need to know that and read it and be on top of it. And it's. I think these companies need to make sure that they're talking with advisors who are thoughtful, who've got years of experience in dealing in financings, because those are the ones who will be able to figure out how Regulation A plus works. And in addition, Regulation A plus involves lots of different types of advisors coming together and working together. You've got marketing people, your auditors, your attorneys, web portals, your investment banker. And please use an investment banker. Don't try to do a Regulation A plus on your own. You need to have people who are helping you bring that team together, and financing. Maybe you can't afford the cost of the Regulation A plus buildup that you need to do. Getting an audit, doing your filings with the SEC. Finding there's funds out there, and I'm lucky to work with a couple funds that will finance the cost of you getting to that mini IPO.
So you know what was really fundamentally one of the best moments I thought at the panel for the in the IPO boot camp was when the company who had done a Reg A plus registration came up and spoke about their company, and then showed that they had had a failed Reg A plus, and you could see the humbleness of that CEO and the reaction of the audience, and his instructions on what he went through and how he described his experience. And then there was a really smart guy in the audience who said, if you had it all to do over again, would you do it? And why don't you take it from there?
Well, yes, that company, and it was really a great honor to have them get up there, because it's difficult to get up and say, we did something and it didn't work. And they said, yeah, we would do it again. We would do it again with the knowledge that we made a lot of mistakes and we didn't have the right advisors to help us figure out what those were. They had some structuring issues in it that I was sitting next to a couple people in the audience when they told me what they did, when they said how they structured it, and we all said, well, that makes no sense. Why would they do that? And then they said, well, we didn't know. We didn't have people around us to help us with this in the right way. So they did say, we'll do it again, but we'll do it again a lot differently with the right people supporting us.
So why should a small company choose Margaret Rosenfeld over any other attorney in the United States of America to go forward with their funding and their legal work? Can you answer that? I think you're the most qualified person in the world to answer that question.
Well, it's always hard to... I come from a background where my father always tells me, be very humble, so it's always hard to answer that sort of question. I grew up in a family-owned business, and the first business I sold was my father's business, 17 delis, sold to A&P, it's a shopping grocery store in New Jersey. I never wanted to own a company. I saw what he went through. I was at the dinner table with him. But I always wanted to help people in that growth. And so I've done a lot of enormous transactions. I've done billion-dollar IPOs. But what I really like to do is work with those companies who are like my dad. I watched my dad grow from one deli that we had highly leveraged to 17 delis, and I got to sell that business. And I saw how he financed it. I worked with that, and that's really just what I love doing. And so you're going to get somebody who's not just your attorney. They're sitting there. They're your general counsel. They're thinking about your company all the time.
So, Margaret, for more information for our investor audience and many CEOs who are out there, let's get your website on.
Oh, our website is www.smithlaw.com. Smithlaw.com. And thank you again, Shelley, for doing everything you do for the small cap community.
Thank you, Margaret. Thanks for coming on. Margaret Rosenfeld, Smith Anderson, smithlaw.com. She's a partner at the firm. This was a Wall Street View done at the Growth Capital Expo, Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, 2016. Margaret, thanks for coming, and thanks for coming on to SNL.
I'll be here next year.